Casablanca. In this episode, I am talking about It Follows, which is a 2015 horror movie written and directed by David Robert Mitchell and starring Maika Monroe, Keir Gilchrist, and Olivia Luccardi. Basically, the premise of this movie, it's a little weird. It's basically, what if a ghost could be an STD? And that's basically the whole premise. And there's all these different ghost movies, like The Ring, where you watch a videotape and then suddenly you're haunted. You have 7 days to live or you die. And then, or you show someone else the tape, and then you're free of the curse, and Samara goes after them. And then there's other things like that. It Follows is similar, except there's no time limit. Once you sleep with somebody, they transmit it to you. It stops following them, and now it follows you. And basically, you can just keep outrunning this thing forever, indefinitely. As it's pointed out in the movie, it's slow, but it walks. It walks. It's always pursuing you, but it's always walking. So if you can drive far enough away, you can have plenty of time to think of a plan of what you're going to do next. Or fly to the other side of the world. It never really addresses in the movie if it can cross water. I mean, it goes into the pool at the end, but could it swim across the ocean? For example, say you're in the US and then you fly to Scotland. And then you have however long it takes for it to cross the ocean. If it can cross the ocean, does it get on a boat? I don't know if anything can swim across that. Of course, it gets shot in the head a few times in the movie, and it keeps going. It slows it down, but then it gets right back up. So I don't know how it would work in the ocean, or maybe. Okay, I just realized something. I said start in the US, go to Scotland. The Atlantic Ocean isn't that big. Start in the US, go to Japan. The Pacific Ocean is massive. It would take years maybe for it to cross. And then when you see it, maybe not Tokyo. I was going to say Japan is overcrowded, but Tokyo. I've seen videos from Tokyo. What's funny is in movies, Tokyo is you see a few people walking on the streets, but I've seen videos of Tokyo and it's literally shoulder to shoulder, and it's so packed. If you see it following you in Tokyo, is it a person or is it? It would get a little confusing. So maybe one of the least. I know not everywhere in Japan is shoulder to shoulder. There are less populated places you can go. Of course, you also don't have to go to Japan. That's just the first thing I thought of. China's big. I'm sure they have wide open areas you can go to. I see pictures of mountains and stuff in Japan and China, valleys and all that, and you can see them coming for miles. You see them lumbering along. It's oh, who is this person walking through the field towards me? And yeah, it is. I don't know if you've noticed. I have put a little I have put a lot of thought into how to escape from it. Because I don't know. It's just kind of like a fun thought experiment. This thing is always pursuing you. How do you escape from it? You can't ever escape from it. There's scenes where she's like laying in a hospital, and I'm just thinking like it could break through glass. Like that's not safe there either, because like yeah, well nobody can see it. Nobody can see it. Only you and the people who've had it before. And if it kills you, it goes back down the line to the person before, and it kills them, the person before. And so, like, unlike something like The Ring, where you show them the tape and then you're free for life, unless you watch it again, this one, you're basically screwed for life, because say it's like 15 people down, and like say you kept tabs on everything, and oh, it's 15 people down, I'm safe. But then like one by one they all start dying, and like, oh crap, it's coming after me. So you're never free of this thing. Not really. Plus you can still see it, because that Jeff guy that gave it to her, he says he can still see it. But I need to talk about the movie itself, not the hypothetical situation of escaping from it. The movie itself, like I generally don't like modern horror movies, because I think I've said this before on here. Like a lot of them just, it's like blood, guts, gore. That's not scary. That's gross. Or they rely on jump scares, which again, like you jump in the moment, but then you laugh because it was stupid. And it's like, oh, I got scared by that cat. This one doesn't rely on that. Like I was told when it came out, like I need to watch it because it was really good. It was a good horror movie. And I was like, no. I know the premise. I know modern horror movies. It's going to be bad. Finally, like a year after it came out in 2016, I finally watched it, and it became like one of my favorite horror movies. Not really of all time. It's like one of my favorite modern horror movies, which, yeah, again, that's not saying much, but it was a really good movie. I like it. It has like very unique like cinematography, I guess. The the camera work. There are like for example, the opening shot. It's a long take, but the camera basically just goes in a circle. It's like it's in an actual neighborhood. This girl runs out of a house, and the camera just like goes in a circle while she runs from something you can't see. And some of her neighbors and like her parents were like, "Hey, you okay?" And she's like, "I'm fine." And it's like, I think like a 2-minute scene. It's just one take, and she's like kind of running around this neighborhood, and the camera is just going in a circle. It's following her, but it's still going in a circle because she's kind of running in a circle. But something I was thinking this time, imagine like we see it from the camera's perspective, so it makes sense. But imagine actually seeing her doing that. Like she's basically just running in circles. You can kind of see why they were asking if she was okay. Because like we always forget that there's a camera there. And so, like, it makes sense from our perspective. And so, like, sometimes I like to try to think, like, what would that actually look like? Like, to see the person do the thing they did outside of the camera. And sometimes, like, does this still make sense without a camera being there? And in this case, well, considering she's running away from this thing, I guess it probably does. We can't see it. We don't actually see it until after the main character, who's played by Maika Monroe, once she gets it transferred to her, then we can see it. But up until then, we never see this thing. There are several times throughout this film where the camera just goes in a circle, and it kind of reminds me of Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock. And that, like, there's those scenes where there's, like, long takes of just panning through the different windows. And it sounds boring, but so much happens in those shots. And same thing here, where, like, every time it goes around, something's going on. It looks like the camera's just going in a circle. There's this one shot in particular in the high school where it's just going in a circle. There's something I never even noticed until this time. There's outside the window, it's walking closer to the window, and the first time I saw, this is the third time I saw it, because I saw it when it first came out, and then I showed a friend like a week later. This is back in 2016, and I'm watching it now. It was on Peacock, by the way. It's on Peacock now, and I didn't notice it until this time that it was walking to the window. Whenever in that shot where it's walking, where the camera's moving in a circle, the whole time, like, it's going in circles, like, things do happen. Other than that, like, things are happening in camera, and like, because you see the main characters and like in like an office or something, and every time it shows them, you see them doing something else, and it makes sense. Like, I'm not good at explaining things, so you just have to watch it and trust me. In this movie, like, it works well. It makes good use of long takes. Like, there's a scene where, like, they're at like this beach house thing. Maybe it's a lake. I don't know if it's like an ocean beach or if it's a lake beach. But they're on a beach, and well, she sees it, and they finally believe her, because like they see like her hair lift, and then like one of them goes to hit a chair. They try to hit it with a chair in like the empty space where they assume it is, and the chair breaks, and then they get pushed away, and they I guess they may have believed her before. It's kind of like, oh, okay, my friend's believing this thing, we're just going to go with it. But they definitely believe her after that, and then she gets in the car and drives away, and there's a long shot of like the camera focused on it as the camera's driving away, and it's just like so cool. I love that. For the first time I saw that, I was like, this is so unique. It's less of an action horror film, which I know that sounds weird, because I told somebody like it's more of it's not an action horror film. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, because like a lot of horror films, it's like a lot of action. Yeah, I don't know how to word it. I can't words. Like, take for example, The Ring. There's a lot going on. Like, she's very active at like fighting back and like researching, and there's a lot of like every scene something's happening. In this movie, it's more of like an art film kind of thing, where there's a lot of scenes where they're just sitting around and like music's playing, and she basically the whole movie she's basically running from this thing. Instead of trying to fight back, she's running from this thing. They don't fight back until the end, and it's her friend who decides, like, hey, I have an idea of how to fight back. And then she even like she's in the pool they're trying to lure this thing to her, and she's like, I want to get out, I don't want to do this. So like she's not actively trying to fight back, which I think it's a good thing, because like you see all these movies where like they're being pursued by something, there's like a monster coming after them, and they just turn and fight, and all they do is fight. Like, no, just run. There's nothing you can do. You already shot this thing in the head once, it fell and then got back up. I don't know how you're going to kill this thing, and I don't think that they're ever going to kill this thing. So it is kind of an artsy film, which I know I did see a lot of people complaining about, like, this movie's so boring, like very little happens. Like, no, it's stuff do happen. Wait, no, that's not a very good Englishing. I have seen criticisms about this movie. Got high praise when it came out, but now all these years later, people are criticizing it. Like, this movie's so boring. Like, no, it's not. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you're just too dumb to understand it. It's nuanced. No, it's... I like it because it's a slower movie. Like, when it first happens... What's kind of annoying in some of these horror movies, where, like, there's like a setup like this where like they are told, here's the setup and here's what you got to do, and in all these movies they're so quick to believe it. And this one, she doesn't believe it. They actually call the police because, well, if you've seen the movie, you know why they call the police. And she tries to forget it, but like she can't. And then, but like she remembers what the guy told her, the Jeff guy, when they're in that building, and he explains to her, "I transferred it to you, and it's gonna keep pursuing you, and you can't let it touch you," and all that. And then she doesn't believe him, but then she sees this old lady slowly walking towards her, and she freaks out, and she slowly starts to believe it. And her friends are like, "No, no, no, that guy just messed with your head," and they don't believe her. And then until, like I said, that scene on the beach. So like, it is kind of a slow movie, but like in a good way. It's like believably slow, where like they don't just accept the situation like immediately, and I like that. Where it's not like where he says, "Oh, I transferred it to you. It's going to pursue you." Like, "Oh, okay." No, it's not realistic if you do that. This one is, and I like it. It does have kind of an ambiguous ending, where like, is it still following them? Is it just a random person? I love that they don't explain that. Which, I'm getting a call. Okay, it's an hour later. I told her I was recording a podcast, and she said, "Oh, okay," and then kept talking. And yep, I didn't stop recording because I figured it's easier to edit one long audio file than to split it up. But then she talked so long that I forgot what I was talking about, so I had to stop, and I went ahead and edited everything before this point. And I want to say, I misspoke at one point. I said that I saw it twice before. I saw it once when it first came out, and then I saw it again with a friend. I saw it in 2016. So in my mind, it's a 2016 film, and I keep forgetting that it came out in 2015. So I didn't see it when it first came out. I actually refused to watch it for like a year after it came out. So yeah, just wanted to point that out. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to sequel talks. Right after this movie came out, people were like, "Sequel, sequel, sequel," and I was like, "No, sequel." One of the best ways to keep a scary movie scary is to keep the mystery. That's why the first Alien was so scary, because you very rarely saw the alien. Jaws is scary because you rarely saw the shark. This one, you do see it, but you don't know anything about it. Where did it come from? What is it? You don't actually see it. It's kind of like a bogart. You never see its true form. You see whatever it wants you to think it is. It wants you to see it wants you to see it as somebody else, but you never actually see it. What does it look like? I don't want to know. Not because I'm too scared to know, but because I think that would ruin some of the horror elements. Because if they were to do like a whole franchise with this movie, and we get like It Follows 12 or whatever, and then we get like the entire backstory of everything, and it goes back to like ancient Sumeria or something, and like we know everything about it, then it's no longer scary. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, it does it because a curse was put on it in ancient Egypt or something. I don't know. No, it's scarier not knowing. And they've been talking this whole time about doing a sequel. And I looked, and last year, they were talking about the movie is going to be in pre-production, a sequel called They Follow, and it's basically, the plot is that Jay, the Maika's character from the first one, she basically, for whatever reasons, goes down the chain and finds out its origin, which is exactly what I didn't want them to do. It's kind of like with Smile. Like, Smile is, I don't know why I didn't think about Smile when I was trying to come up with examples of what this movie's kind of like. I was like, The Ring from like 22 years ago. Oh my god. Yeah, that Smile is the more recent relevant example. Kind of, I mean, you don't really have to do anything. You just have to witness someone dying to get the curse. And when they announced a sequel to Smile, I was like, no, leave it. But then I've actually seen the trailers for Smile 2, and it actually looks really good. And I've seen some of the early reviews, and it does seem like it's going to be good. Like, I don't want to know the origin, the Smile creature thing, the curse. Don't want to know it. Again, not because I'm too scared to know, but because that would ruin the mystique, ruin the horror of it. And it's the same with It Follows. I don't want to know. The less we know, the scarier it is. And it looks like they don't care. They just want to crank out those movies. So, yeah. Of course it's going to get a sequel, but at least they waited. Because if I could think, if Hollywood had its way, when it had just came out, it was really popular. Everyone was talking about it. And they could have cranked a sequel out the next year. So at least they waited 10 years to do it. But yeah, that was It Follows. Again, it's available to stream on Peacock. I do highly recommend watching it. It's a very good horror movie that I really enjoy. And there's not a whole lot of like gore in this. There's, I think, like when the creature gets shot a few times and there's blood, but like it's nothing like I was saying, like some of those other horror movies, it's blood, guts, gore. It's nothing like that. Just like they get shot and then blood flies out, that like hits the wall, goes into a blanket. It's nothing too graphic. But yeah, I'll end it there. And cut.